everyone, I'm Martin Kilner and welcome to KilnerVR and welcome to our leadership series. Now, KilnerVR has always been a little bit about gaming and a bit about virtual reality. Don't worry, we'll still be looking at future technologies. So now what I want to do is to start sharing some of my leadership experience. I've been a senior leader for 4.5, nearly 5 years, and I've worked in leadership for about 8 to 10. We're talking about graphic design industries as well as education. So I also wanted to share what I'm currently learning from a master's in senior leadership as well, which at the moment is reaffirming quite a lot of the stuff you learn on the job. Now, the idea of this series is to help anyone who's new into leadership roles to understand some of the dynamics around it. I'm by no means a finished product, and it is always good to keep developing and learning. So I wanted to start today with leading with some impact. So welcome to episode 1. And let's have a look at starting with the why. Values-based leadership and looking at Simon Sinek's golden circle. So, have you ever planned an initiative or planned something only for your team and the people you're presenting to just shrug their shoulders when you've launched it? Well, don't worry. I have done that too, and it took a very, very long time to understand that it's okay. But actually, there is a way you can reframe that and reframe your launch. Instead of spending a lot of time into something, it's about understanding how we can present that in a way that allows us to stop focusing on what we were doing and start with why. So today we're breaking down Simon Sinek's golden circle. If you haven't looked at it, please do. It's a great piece of research. And we're going to look at how we can make it work in a school and any other leadership concepts and settings. So when you look at Sinek's model, it says all great leaders communicate from the inside out. Now, what he means by that is they understand why. So they understand your purpose, your cause or belief. So why does your work matter? So they understand why the work matters. The how is the process you use to bring your purpose to life. So how do you do things differently? How do you tackle this problem in a different way that allows you to understand the why and others to understand the why and make impact? And then that leads you to the what, which is the results, what you actually deliver. So to help us understand that, let's take two approaches. Okay, so let's have a look at two approaches to, let's just say our homework policy, right? Homework policy is something that always comes up in schools enjoy putting in place. So if we were, as a senior leadership group, to say we want a new homework policy put in, we've reviewed it all, let's launch this to staff. Let's start with a what. Okay, and this is how a what statement would play out. So we're introducing a new homework policy, 30 minutes per subject, submitted online. Now that kind of statement is very direct, and granted you'll have people that will do it, but they'll never understand why, and there'll be no buy-in to that. So there is no values or understanding behind what we're asking people to do. It's just an instruction, and people become quite defensive of that. Why are you adding to my workload? So let's rephrase that into why. So if we were to put why first, so we believe that every student deserves the chance to practice and extend their learning outside of class, so without feeling overwhelmed. That's why we're introducing a new policy with clear time limits and online submissions to make feedback faster. And here's how it's going to work. Now, when we look at that second approach, you can see it connects to purpose. And that's what gets people on board. So not only would that allow people to understand a clear understanding as to why they're doing it, but it will give you opportunities to get more feedback. And what you want as a leader is that feedback, so you can constantly improve systems. Because at the end of the day, we want everything to be right for everyone, and you can't do it all alone. So how do we kind of implement some of these steps, the why, the what, and the how? How do we implement them into a values leadership kind of approach? So I want to talk to you about what I do at the moment. And this is years in the practice and development, and I still refine them every now and again. But what I do as my first step is I define my 3 to 4 leadership values. So at the moment, mine is growth, care, and clarity. You can also bring your values in line with your company's values, your school's values if you want. That might help you align the actual policies and processes you're launching or your initiatives. But what I do is I write them on a card and I keep them on my desk. So they're next to my desk at the moment at work. And every time I'm sort of getting to write something or understand something, I go back to those. So for every meeting or initiative, I'm trying to start with a 30-second why statement. Sometimes it's even shorter. So example could be, today we're reviewing our behavior policy because we want to create a space where every student feels safe to learn. Okay, that's why. It's why we're looking at it recently. It could be something to do with data, and this is why we're looking at a CPD cycle to review and understand this. Now, I also do this when I'm writing an email or I'm making an announcement. Leading with purpose is what we call it. So we put the why in the first paragraph. Now, what you do have to be careful is you don't become too waffly within those emails, so it loses what you're actually trying to get from people. But understanding the why in an email, we all know what it's like when we read one, helps you understand a little bit more about what you're being asked to do. Something I also do as well is I train my middle leaders to do the same. So what I do is I run little workshops within line management where everyone practices writing why statements for their team initiative. What we do there is, by understanding the why, we over time eliminate that question from line management, because your middle leaders are coming to you in line management with a clear why and they understand the key concept, and then we're able to unpick the how, and we start skilling up our middle leaders to present a part of the how, which we can then guide them to answers and help them understand research that links to that, or in some cases provide them with solutions. But it helps skill them up too. But a line management, a middle leader coming to you with the why, this is what we want to do, here's the why, makes it so much easier for you as a senior leader to help them grow and to help everything fall in line with your school's values. So for me, I mentioned my three leadership values at the moment, they're being growth, care and clarity. Now they change. At the moment it's those purely for individual reasons, because I want to lead with kindness and I want to make sure that I'm more consistent with my communication. These are really key, and obviously the growth part leads to wanting to be able to help people grow too, and not just individually for me. So when we look at values-based leadership, it isn't about being perfect. It's about being consistent in what you stand for. So right now, what I want you to do is ask yourself the question, what are your top 3 leadership values? Drop them in my comments section. I'll read every single one, and I'll be sharing my favorite sets. I do hope you found it useful exploring Simon Sinek's Golden Circle and understanding the links to leadership, like values-based leadership. But leading with the why and understanding that the why leads to the how and the what, turning your work inside out and the way you communicate will help with clarity and help you understand when you're presenting things, rather than spending so much time on the how for people to just shrug their shoulders. So I do hope this helped. That was Leading with Impact, Start with the Why, episode 1 of KilnerVR's leadership series. Until next time, thank you.